Hello, welcome. My name's Janine Driver. I'm the Celebrity Lie Detector Live. Wouldn't you like to know if you are an investigator or those people who drive you crazy with details? Would you like to know what's really going on? And forget about the extroverts and introverts. What about neutrals? Have you ever felt that you're not exactly an extrovert and you're not exactly an introvert? Maybe, just maybe, you're a neutral. My name's Janine Driver. This is Celebrity Lie Detector. This is segment 3 of episode 15. Are you an investigator? We're going to explore that and dive in a little bit with movement pattern analysis. I'm going to show you a move connected with investigating. Then we're going to talk about a study, a couple of them, as a matter of fact. We're going to talk about mutual funds. When you add 10 more to the mix, what happens with people's decision-making process? Another study that was done with regard to a car crash and the language that was used when asked if you saw the car crash. Something as simple as the word can influence what you think you saw. A different study with college students getting a tetanus shot. What persuaded from 0% of students wanting to get the tetanus shot because they saw the little booth set up saying, hey, I want to get a tetanus shot. What persuaded a whole chunk of people to go in and get the shots? Last but not least, are you neutral? Not extrovert and introvert, maybe, just maybe you're neutral. And I'm going to show you Phoebe from Friends. Oh yeah, she's got some neutral in there. Are you an investigator? Investigators love to research the data. They love details. They want to know the facts. They even will research the research if they're high in investigating. There's a body language movement, one of 12, that connect to people who are motivated by details. I'm going to show it to you in a second with a series of celebrities. These researchers right here, if you are one, you may be thinking, well, everybody needs this information. You can never have enough information. Your weakness, though, is you could get information at the expense of achievement. So if you're a big researcher, my suggestion to you is, as you're researching, if you see the same 3 names pop up, the same name pop up 3 times, know that you've done enough research. Know that you've done enough research. I had a boss one time that was atrocious. She asked me way too many details, and it made me not want to come to work every day because she was in a bad mood because I wasn't giving her the details she wanted. And I'm simply not motivated by details. I'm motivated to act. I'm quick on my feet. I've got charisma. You can trust me. I am loyal. I am generosity. I am not detail oriented. Some of you think having more details makes you make smarter decisions, and I'm going to prove that to be wrong in a minute. Because having too much information can create analysis paralysis. I'm sure you've heard that term before. The information gathering itself prevents you from taking action. So we'll explore a couple studies in a second. Here over in movement pattern analysis, I want to talk about my investigating. If you've been following me here each week, you know this is about movement pattern analysis. We move our body in 12 ways that connect how we make decisions and how we interact with human beings and our environment. Oh, there's my environment. I just popped in there for you. That's funny. So 3 stages. It's 4:10 a.m. for me. I've stayed up all night doing this, so I'm not looking so pretty right now. Attending, intending, and committing. So, or what I also call research, reasoning, and the result, which I think is easier to remember. So research, reasoning, and the result. But essentially, research is attending to the opportunity, to the problem, to what's going on here. It's gathering research with depth and breadth. Tonight, we're talking about with depth, going down deep into the details with depth, not breadth. And a study was done. Let me get back in here. Oh, I guess I'm showing you the moves first. All right, stand by. I'm going to show you a series of celebrities. When you hear the beep, 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 that's them making the movement that is connected with directing, people motivated by details. This movement, if you were sitting next to me and you did this a lot, I'd be like, oh my gosh, are you totally motivated by a lot of research and details? I'd be like, yeah. These are the people that sometimes I say, you can't land the plane. I'm like, land the plane already. Get to why it matters for me. However, I love these people because together you complement me because I'm not motivated by details. So you're my yin to my yang, or I'm your yang to your yin. The investigating eagle, it's diving into details, probe and obtain in-depth data about a problem, opportunity, or situation, fact-finding, making decisions, and categorizing according to shared qualities or characteristics. capture descriptive data about a very specific area, a person, company, or industry. So let's watch this little ding. The ding is what we call integrated movement. It's also called a posture gesture movement or posture gesture motion. It's where the posture and the gesture happens at the same exact time. It's called a PGM, posture gesture motion movement. All right, watch as a series of people, celebs, do this move. When you see this movement, this directing, I want you to imagine they have a magnifying glass in their hand, right? It's like they're a smart bomb and they're coming at you. Their whole body goes in that same direction. Watch this. They're like coming at us.
And I'm running, and Teddy looks and see me bearing down on. He looks at this. It's funny.
Sweat, my nostrils are flared. I'm like, I'm so tired of, just somebody, just hold me.
Morton Dean is screaming in the background, they found blood in the stool, Dan! There's blood in this stool! Hello, we're eating! Hello!
I do one at normal speed, and then as you can tell, one slowed down.
And so, you know, the goal is to get this, well...
We are slightly normal. We have a normal size.
Notice how the hand gesture follows the eyes with Prince Harry here. When you're talking to people, notice do their hand gestures.
How do we know that she didn't?
Look at Amy Schumer. Does the hand gesture go with the eye movement and the body leaning forward at the same time? Okay, right there. So here's the deal. When you gather too much information, the gathering itself can prevent you from taking action. At the expense of achievement, you can miss out on an opportunity because you're doing so much research. However, some leaders feel that you still want to do due diligence. You want to get in all the information, take it in, like Richard Branson. Richard Branson will get the information from you. He finds out where you stand, gather the information. He thinks about it for a little while, takes some outside time, and then makes a decision. And he understands this means sometimes he won't seize an opportunity, misses an opportunity. And for every opportunity he misses, he says that there's probably another handful of opportunities he saved himself from. Instead of making an impulsive decision, he saved a lot of money and a lot of heartache by just taking a second and balanced out. It's more to his favor is what he believes. All right, there was a study done involving mutual funds, and it was determined that every time 10 more mutual funds were made available to you, your participation in your 401k went down by 2%. Went down by 2%. Too much information can paralyze people. This is a paralysis, right? We see this when you go to the Cheesecake Factory. I've mentioned this before. The Cheesecake Factory has 7,000 things on their menu. And what do? You order the same stuff every time. My husband orders fish tacos. I used to order the chicken with the mashed potatoes and the carrots underneath. You know, you have your two favorite pieces of cake there, and one favorite. Because you get into that analysis paralysis. Why aren't you trying something else? There's like 7,000 things in there. Because it's too much data coming at us. It's too much research. So again, the study on mutual funds, every 10 mutual funds made available, the rate of your participation, of your company's participation, your 401k goes down by 2%. Another study was done where students were persuaded to get a tetanus shot. The students were told they could get a shot and they simply had information about the shot. Not one student showed up to get the shot. However, when the researchers added a high fear factor about what could happen if you don't get the shot, 3% of the students got the shot. So what's the shot? This tetanus, okay? So what is tetanus anyway? I pulled this from this website, byjus.com. So look at what is tetanus. Tetanus is also known as lockjaw. It is a bacterial infection affecting the nervous system and causing muscles throughout the body to tighten. The infection primarily causes muscle contractions in the neck and jaw, but can eventually spread to other parts of the body. So in the study, the first time they just told you, hey, here's a tetanus shot. You can get it if you want, basics. The second study, they told you what would happen if you don't get the shot, what could potentially happen if you ended up getting tetanus. Incidentally, a rusty nail, if you step on it in the water, will not give you tetanus. That is wrong information. So when we add this fear factor, the percentage goes up to 3%. And when you add the fear factor along with instructions, so the third part, they added instructions on and a map on how to get to the health center where you can get the shot. And the students were, which by the way, they already knew, most students, where the health center was. And the students were given time slots that were available, and they were asked, okay, which time slot will you want, and which route will you take to get to the nurse's office? So they had the map out. They had people explain which route they'll take from there, where they live, just before the appointment. They're coming from a class or coming from the dormitory or coming from off campus. Once they actually talk about their route, they made their appointment, guess what? 28% of people ended up getting the shot. Our brain doesn't know the difference between, reality or that something has already happened. Reality, something's already happened. If we run it in our head, it accesses the same part of the brain as if it's happening. I don't know if that made sense because it's 4:18 in the morning and I just pulled an all-nighter and I have an event in 3 hours. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? All right, I've got to wrap this up. So hopefully that made sense. So it's important to run things through your brain before you do them. As a matter of fact, tons of research is on this. You're more likely to be better at the job if you run the scenario. So it's good if you're a hothead, run the scenarios of this employee is going to drive you crazy and drive you nuts. Run the scenario of how you would handle it when they drive you crazy so you can make better decisions. All right, up to 28% when they visualized how they would get there and they actually made the time slot. So information is not important. A whole bunch of data, they gave them tons of data printed. That information isn't what changes people to take action fast. What changes people is valuable information, what they need to know, tell them what they're going to lose, have them give you information on how they're going to get there, visualize doing it, and everything will change. If you had a 28% chance of increasing your salary this year by 28%, wouldn't you be excited about it? So this right here is changing the results. Another study, people were asked to watch videos of cars crashing into crashing into one another. And the researchers, let me get out of here, this tetanus stuff. The researchers asked, how fast were the cars going when they smashed together versus hit one another? The researchers used the word smash together, people said the cars are going significantly faster than they actually were. And here's the deal, 7 days later when they were asked if there was broken glass at the accident, the people that were asked, hey, how fast were they going when they smashed together? Those people said, yes, there was glass at the accident, when in fact, there was no glass at the accident. There was none. All right, as we begin to wind down, my name's Janine Driver. I'm the Celebrity Lie Detector live every Wednesday night, and then I post it in parts over in YouTube. This is series number 15, and this had 3 segments to it. This is segment number 3. If you are just tuning in, go find segments 1 and 2. It's going to blow your mind. We talked about some celebrities and how, in segment 2, how they make decisions with regard to having meetings and why they have the meetings the way they have them. And then in segment 1 tonight, we talked about a bunch of information that's going to totally blow your mind. Now, let's finish segment number 3. Segment number 3, the last thing I want to talk about here is interaction styles. So I'm going to look at my mind map here of movement pattern analysis. This is a class we did, and they had an artist there who drew all this wonderful tips here. This is everything I talked about in my keynote presentation. So I'm looking on if I have interaction styles even here. I do not. Okay, so what I'm going to point out is I want to show these 3 stages of decision making: attending, intending, or committing, which I should change this on the screen. What I like to call research, reasoning, and the result. And you can be extroverted in one of these categories and introverted in another one of these categories. So when it comes to gathering research, you could be extroverted, which means you have an inherent desire to gather information in research with someone else, not just sitting side by side, but together, researching together, talking about it together. And then over here, committing, which is doing stuff. You're actually executing the decisions. Over here, you could be introverted. This is where it can create a disconnect for you at work, because here you're so sociable, and maybe even here you're sociable, because when weighing pros and cons and what's important, you might share and be extroverted. But over here, if you're private and committing in the results, you're not there for pictures. When everyone goes to the hockey game at work, because they have this big like Mac Daddy suite, you never ever go. So sometimes people are confused because you seem like you're a team player, but you never interact with the team outside of work. You don't want to go to lunch with them. You could be private right here. My fellow body language expert I work with at the Body Language Institute, Chris Ulrich, is private right here. So he's got some extroversion over here, can interact with people. But here, he literally just took a vacation last week, rented a house for he lives alone in DC, his own apartment, but he went somewhere else and rented a place for 2 days and just stayed there all by himself. I get any friends come? He goes, no, I wanted to go by myself. That's that private right here. So why do I tell you that? Because there's a category called neutral, and you're not extrovert and introverted. Neutrals mean you do not have a strong need for sharing, and you do not have a strong need for privacy. Sharing and privacy, or extroversion and introversion. And we'll talk about this another time in more depth. Neutrals. So neutrals, their feelings won't be hurt if you don't want to share with them. If you say, hey, let's go on lunch on our own, or hey, 2 of us are going to lunch just to cover a topic we have to go over tomorrow. So let's eat separately. It's not going to hurt their feelings. It's unlikely because they're neutral. They don't have a strong preference for either sharing or privacy. They don't mind eating by themselves. They don't mind going with you. Neutrals will often say to you things like, well, do you want me to go to lunch with you? Like if you say, hey, want to go to lunch with me? Do you want me to go to lunch with you? Understand that's the neutral's way to get out of lunch, because it's not a strong need. They're not saying no, but yet they might have had other plans. So if someone's saying, well, do you want me to watch your cat? Do you want me to FedEx that for you? Understand that's their way of trying to get out of what you just asked them to do. So if you really don't care if they're there, then say to them, oh, it doesn't matter either way. You're more than welcome to join us. And you're cool if you have something else in mind that you had planned. Phoebe right here is going to walk in. I don't know if you remember this episode, and Phoebe's going to come in, and she just got a new job working at Chandler's company. He wasn't there that day with her. So she's like, oh my God, today was amazing. He says, well, pays to know the big boss. And she goes, oh, I didn't tell people I know you. He goes, really? Why not? She goes, oh, because no one likes you. And he's like, nuh-uh. She's like, yeah. Wait a minute, one person. Oh, no, that person doesn't like you either. And then they make fun of Chandler. So I'm going to play this for you. Phoebe is demonstrating neutrality here, neutral with her interaction style. Because when it comes to that committing, the result area, the third stage of decision making, the actual doing of the decision, the actual executing, if you're neutral in this category, you assume people know what has been done. If you're neutral in the middle category, which is reasoning, you assume everybody knows what the priorities are, that they know your priorities, and that they, that you have, you are all on the same page. They assume it. If you're neutral in that first stage, which is researching, right? That research with depth or research with breadth. If you're neutral there, you think everybody knows all the details you know. These people often will come across neutrals as modest people. They'll close a $2 million gig. And if they're neutral in committing, that last stage, they're unlikely to tell you. They're going to assume that you know, and they're not even going to share it in a meeting. They're just going to assume you know. So someone else is going to say, hey, Phoebe just closed a $2 million deal. And everyone's like, oh my God, you're amazing. And they think that you're very, very humble. So if you have neutrality here, sometimes the neutral people are seen as socially awkward because trying to break into a conversation looks like you're talking to yourself. Say there's 2 people in front of me talking. I come over and I say something like this if I'm a neutral. Hi, can I join your conversation? I mean, if it's private, I'm sorry. If it's a private meeting, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have even asked. I'm sorry. It looks like you guys are having a private conversation. I wasn't sure. And now I back out and people are like, what? They didn't even hear what I was asking. So that's neutrality. A friend of mine, Bethany, another profiler in movement pattern analysis, Bethany says it's like a loaded gun and the bullet won't come out. You want it to come out, it just doesn't come out. Watch this. Phoebe assumes Chandler knew exactly that what she's about to say, which is no one likes him. Total neutral, total neutral.
Hey, how was the first day?
Oh, excellent. excellent. Everyone was so nice.
See, it pays to know the man who wears my shoes. Me.
No, I didn't tell anybody that I knew you.
Why not?
Oh, because, they don't like you.
What?
I thought you knew that.
No. Who doesn't like me?
Everyone. Except for, no, everyone.
What are you talking about?
Don't feel bad. They used to like you a lot. But then you got promoted and, now you're all like Mr. Boss Man. Mr. Big. Mr. Big. Boss Man Big.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, they even do you.
They do me?
Okay. Not report B any later?
I don't sound like that.
Oh,
Yeah, you do.
The hills are alive with the sound of music. My stone! My stone!
Okay, I don't sound like that. That is so not true. That is so not. Oh, shut up.
I let that run a little longer because it's so fun. Segment 3 of episode 15 has come to a close. My name's Janine Driver. I'm the celebrity lie detector. I'm live every Wednesday night. Tonight was a late start for me. It's now 4:30 in the morning. I have an event with women in federal law enforcement in 2.5 hours. I can't believe it. I'm going to get 90 minutes of sleep. So I'm going to head off to bed. What we just talked about here in episode 15, segment 3, was the power of Are You an Investigator? This is gathering details, researching the research. Then we bounced over here and we went into what does that look like? That's in this stage of decision making, the research area. So research, reasoning, the result, the 3 stages of decision making. Right here, we're talking about the investigator. That's one of the 2 areas in research with depth. The other one is research with breadth. That's called exploring, and we'll show you that body language move in another segment. I then showed you a series of celebrities, everyone from Jamie Foxx to Jennifer Lawrence to Amy Schumer to Jay Leno, doing the move called directing. Their hand gestures followed for almost all of their time. Well, the clips I showed you for sure, their hand gestures followed their movements. It may not happen every time, but a majority of the time, their hand gestures, their body, their whole entire body, their posture, their gesture happens at the same time in the same direction coming at you. These people, they're like smart bombs. You can't get away from their energy, motivated by research. Then we talked about studies that were done, and that when you add more information, sometimes you create that paralysis, that analysis paralysis, and then people simply don't even make the decisions. So be careful of getting too much information. Also, you could get so much information at the expense of achievement, I shared with you this study about mutual funds. It was determined that every 10 mutual funds that are added, the people participating in the 401k, it dropped. It went down 2% because it was too much. It was too much choice over here. Then we went over to the other study about persuading the tetanus shots for the students. And remember, they first were at 0%. Then when telling them the problem, the fear factor, they went up to 3%, but then asking them how they'll get to the nurse's office, giving them a map, telling them where it is, and giving them an appointment, that then shot up, and then more people got the shot. 28% actually showed up and got the shot. That's incredible to me. Then the other study over here with the cars crashing, how fast were they smashing? Everyone guessed that it was faster than they actually were, because the word smashed was influencing that open loop there of the brain. We're gathering information. We have an open loop in our brain, waiting to gather information from you to complete the story. And then also what happened was several days later asked, was there broken glass at that scene of the accident? And almost every single person said yes. Almost every single person said yes. That was 7 days later. Then we bounced over to here to the neutrals. Neutral people do not have a strong need for sharing or a strong need for privacy. Otherwise, in other words, extroversion, introversion. They can roll with the punches. They're seen as really likable, not great in job interviews unless you ask them questions. Also in your meetings, you need to ask your neutrals questions because they're going to assume that you know what they know. So make sure you ask them very specific questions. Make sure you call their name. Also, neutrals are going to struggle once they start sharing. They are likely going to struggle going back into privacy. That means they're going to repeat the same story over and over and over and over and over again in just slightly different ways. You need to help them land the plane and just simply reaffirm what you heard from them and help them get out of the conversation. Internally, they're going to be very helpful that you helped wrap it up and get them out of that loop. It's like a record that's skipping all the time. And then I showed an example of Phoebe. Someone would be neutral in her profile by assuming Chandler knows what she knows, A CEO that was in my class came up to me. We talk, I talk about interaction styles. There's 4 of them: extroversion, introversion, neutral, and another one I'll talk about in another time. That which I am in all 3 stages of decision making, and about 70% of people are this other category. We call it versatile. Anyway, a woman came up, CEO, and said she's Janine. I was about to fire my executive assistant tomorrow. She's worked with me for 8 years because she keeps lying to me and saying she thought I knew things, but now I think you totally described her to a T. I think she's neutral. And then I gave her the operation handbook on how to communicate with neutrals. So how to do that. So which I will be posting on Driver on Demand, my virtual training, a little handout on what are the 4 interaction styles, how do you lead them, how do you manage them, how do you communicate with them, and how are you reading them wrong, and how can you start reading them right. So if you've not already bought it, check out Driver on Demand. Driver on Demand is over at bluestreaktraining.com. My name is Janine Driver. Thanks for playing with me tonight. This was episode 15. I'll see you next Wednesday.